but just to give you an insight into what we're going to be talking about today. And we're talking about psilocybin, specifically the Golden Teacher's strain of psilocybin mushroom, also known as the magic mushroom. And it's called magic for a reason, because it's a sacred medicine. And some people might say, well, magic is evil. Well, it's not referred to like that, in terms of magic, like Satanism or anything like that. It's termed magic because it brings about incredible, long-lasting results. And psychiatrists worldwide now are recommending psilocybin as there she pops up. There we go. Hi, Jen.
Hello, good morning.
Welcome.
Thank you very much.
I was just telling everybody about psilocybin, which is the main ingredient in the psilocybin mushroom, which is the sacred medicine that we use to help people with addictions, depression, anxiety, and trauma, post-traumatic stress disorder. And my first guest's profile introduction is Jenny Humphrey. Welcome, Jenny.
Thank you very much. It's an honor to be here.
Finally, we overcame the technical difficulties. Jen, I wonder if you could perhaps just give everybody a background as to tell us a bit about yourself, what brought you to use sacred medicine yourself, and how did you get into using it to help others?
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. Well, basically my whole life I was very, very much involved religiously with the church. And so for me, I always had a very good, what I thought was a good understanding of God. And anyway, as life went through, grew up very, very strictly Afrikaans home, but also very sort of disconnected, a feeling that there's this God, but disconnection. But anyway, as I grew up, I had 3 children, and I was actually married. I married which I didn't know. Sadly, it was a gentleman that was a drug lord, and he was a drug addict. I didn't know that. So I was with him for 6 years. Anyway, from there, I left. So I didn't understand why I had to be part of that, but it was very much part of what I'm doing right now in my life. Later on in life, what I did was I brought up my children alone. I didn't want to bring in anybody extra. So to give them the best time that I could. And at the age of 28 years old, I had my first nervous breakdown, ended up at an informal Bible school. And there I joined, I started working amongst the African people for 5 years doing full-time ministry, which at the time I could not understand why I'm doing this and where I'd ever use it. But it was very, very grounding for the work that I'm doing now. I learned a lot. I learned a lot of just how powerful prayer is on its own. And this is in my life for my own situation. And then I went along, and then later on in life, I actually became an interior decorator and designer by trade, and I had my own company for 25 years. But there was always something lacking and missing. And in my family, on my family's side, my mom's side specifically, was tremendous mental illness. And I suffered tremendously with terrible, debilitating depression most of my life, even as a child. Didn't understand it, but suffered with it. So I started reaching out and asking God, what heals mental illness? Because there's so much mental illness on, that we're all facing nowadays. Anyway, long story short, left there again, got married again, and again got divorced through certain circumstances, and I really was lost. Hit the bottle quite a bit on my own. My children were in boarding school, so I drank quite a bit for about 2 years. I was very bitter, angry, and twisted. And of course, the mental illness got even worse. And years later, I met the most wonderful man 10 years ago. I met Joe Ribeiro, which is a very, very profound and wonderful human being in my life. I did his hotel, and we decided to become business partners 10 years ago. And he introduced me to psilocybin. And at first, I said to him, I don't do drugs. I'm sorry, but I don't do drugs. And he said to me, no, Jen, I've done extensive, I've gone into extensive processes of listening to doctors and Paul Stamets and all those people on what it does for mental illness. Having said that, I started with him 10 years ago, and he started doing the psilocybin with me. And well, today I look back and I actually have tears in my heart with gratitude towards him for being there for me and taking me onto this journey. I always knew that when I stepped into my senior life, which I have now, I'm 61 years old. I always knew that I wanted to either do an Airbnb at the later stage, but I always knew I wanted to do something to give back to who I understand as God. Some people understand it as the universe, as Great Spirit. It's all one thing at the end of the day. And I have seen and witnessed the most within myself, the most incredible change, and still ongoing because it's a journey. And it's just such a wonderful, incredible tool to support people that are suffering with severe depression, that are suffering with severe addiction of any sorts, food, alcohol. It really, really, really has made a massive difference in my life, and I highly recommend it. I'm so grateful today that the universe, and if you look online, medically and from the medical side and scientifically, they are actually proving that psilocybin is profound for mental illness, because it starts with that patterning when we are our first 7 years when we are born. And when we start to understand that patterning and we work together from a professional point of view, from a therapeutic point of view, it can really change lives dramatically. Yeah.
Okay. So you've been doing this for 10 years now?
Yes.
Working with people.
What I did was I originally I did a lot of journeying. I was avid journeying. I did ayahuasca at the same time. Well, not together, but periodically for 8 years as well. Honor it, very powerful medicine. But what I found of the psilocybin is the psilocybin is very powerful for shifting the neural pathways in the brain. And for me, that is absolutely profound. I have people coming for 1 or 2 journeys and with profound shifts and changes, and from all ages. Our youngest little gentleman that came the other day, and he's come now 3 times, is 14 years old. And that's the time that you actually start, you can start giving the adolescents, you can start giving them the mushrooms in small doses from that age. So yes, it's yeah. So I basically journeyed for, I'd say, 2 years, and then I decided, I chatted to beautiful Monica Kromhout, a lady in Cape Town, which everybody knows very well. And Monica said, Jenny, you're meant to do this work. And I've always been involved in humanitarian work or any form of healing work through the years. And it is just so wonderful that the medicine does the work, and I just give the support, which is so profound.
Yeah, well, that's amazing. Not to brag, but just to give people an idea, how many people have you worked with over the years?
Sure. It's very, very difficult to say at this stage, because I haven't really sat counting, but
my estimate is hundreds.
Yeah, it has been hundreds. It might even go to about, I'd say hundreds. I don't want to be too forward, but
Yeah.
I've done a lot of groups, and
Mm.
I'm now moving away. Though the people are crying from the groups, I want to go into doing a 5-day retreat where people will come in unconscious and leave completely conscious, where we will
Mm.
teach them how to integrate properly,
Yes.
and
So
where
important.
they will be taught how to be and not do.
Yes.
So the first thing is their cell phones will be handed over. No one can contact them, and
Ooh.
um, then we can give them. Yeah, that's going to be a hard one, but that cell phone will be handed in, and then just to really
Yeah.
integrate people by allowing them to be, because we're running. We all of us are running. We're carrying so much collective stress at the moment, collective
Mm.
fear at the moment. And one
Trauma.
of the
Yeah.
most powerful things that the psilocybin does is it really captures that fear factor.
Mm.
It
Mm.
removes that anxiety fear that we're carrying, and it helps
Mm.
tremendously with focus, especially the microdosing.
Yes. Okay. So, Jen, your place is called Fibonacci House and subtitled The Love Sanctuary. And I got to say, every time I've been there, there's an energy there, and I feel so relaxed, and there's such a feeling of love. When I first met you for the first time, I was in a desperate place, and I just experienced love and no judgment and complete acceptance. And that is
No.
exactly what I needed, right there in that moment. But what is your vision for Fibonacci House, the Love Sanctuary?
Look, my vision has always been to be able to, where someone can, where anyone can arrive, and just by arriving, as you've just explained it, they need to
Mm.
feel love.
Mm.
Because, and I'm not talking about the love that people understand nowadays, but feeling love and accepted and seen for, to be seen and heard for who you really are.
Yeah.
And my dream for it is for those, it's Fibonacci House, it's the Love Sanctuary. There's a bit of a story behind that. I had a pastor who came and couldn't believe. I worked with another young gentleman that was also an addict for many, many years, and he had such a profound shift after we did a one-on-one, and his pastor was blown away. And I visited in one of his services, and I could see he was very nervous to meet me, and I was very humble with him. And he came, and a friend of his said to him, God's laid it on my heart, we need to ask this lady to give us mushrooms. Now, this man said he wanted nothing to do with mushrooms.
Sure.
And I said, fine. I gave them 2 very small doses. I've never seen a big, he looks like a rugby player, big Afrikaans man,
Mm.
sit down and sob like that. He couldn't stop writing. And when he was finished, he said to me, in my life, I've never experienced um, God's love. Now, again, for him, for
Wow.
religious people or for the church, it's God. It's
Yeah.
the whole thing about psilocybin and about Fibonacci House is that people can experience unconditional love.
Hmm.
And when you start working with the psilocybin, one of the most powerful things it does is it teaches you to love yourself.
Mm.
Now, I know this sounds absolutely crazy, but where you can
Yeah.
start honoring you and respecting you and
Yes.
feeling that inner love for yourself. So, my dream for it is that it can grow. I'm very grateful for the backup scientifically and medically, what's happening with the psilocybin, but also for people to just know what it's like to feel their own love for themselves. Because
Mm.
if I can quote, the Bible always says, love your brother as you love yourself, and none of us love
Yes.
ourselves.
Yeah.
But it is a
Yeah.
journey, and it's always a journey. Otherwise, we become robots. But my biggest vision is that everyone that comes here will walk away being deeply touched by love. Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. Thank you so much for spending some time with us this morning. For those of you that are watching, Jen's website is fibonaccihouse.com. fibonaccihouse.com, not .co.za, fibonaccihouse.com, and you can get hold of Jen through there. But she'll be one of our speakers next year on the 7th of September 2022 at the Sandton Convention Center in Johannesburg. It'll also be done via live webinar as well for those of you that can't make it. And ticket sales will be available as from the 1st of December, I believe. Thank you, Jen, and we'll see you again soon. Have a lovely day.
Thank you very, very much, Warren, and God bless. Thanks, eh?
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.